TRScientist here, and today I am back in r/NuclearRevenge for episode number 14. And today is going to be a hell of an episode, because we're doing all stories related with a term related to hell or Satan or whatever. Well, actually, just because one has the word hellish, one has the word Satan, so let's just get into them. First up, hellish client gets what's coming to him. Hey all, so I'm a freelance web developer. Had a guy contact me saying there was a small project he needed help with, stating it would take minutes and wanted to pay $50. Fair enough. He also states that he needs it done by the end of the day, since he's apparently in a tight spot with his employer, so he needs it done fast. Also fair enough. I'm not going to turn it down just because it's a tight deadline. I get in and find out his previous developer was very sloppy and the code was damn near impossible to read. His site is in Squarespace and a lot of second-rate developers work there, which is fair because it's pretty easy. I'll tell the client the code is horrible and I need to reformat. Then it turns out the new links that he wanted in there completely broke everything. I told him that it would likely take about 6 hours to get all this sorted out. He said that was fine and would compensate me accordingly by my hourly rate of $80 per hour. So I finished everything up, tell him the total of $640, and he agrees. Says he can pay me the next day. This "I'll pay you the next day" BS goes on for about 2 weeks, and I tried to call him again on the most recent day that he said he'd pay me. Turns out he now blocked my number. A couple days go by of trying to contact him while still getting nothing. I went to log into the site to cut my losses and delete my work. Turns out he's changed the password. At this point, it's clear to me this was planned, so I'm pissed. I email him saying that if I don't hear anything within 48 hours, I'll be serving him court papers and demand of payment to his address and that I had to find through an ancestry site, and subsequently call his apartment complex to confirm before I serve some poor sap with random court papers. He doesn't email for 24 hours, and this morning I find out that I'm still logged into his site through the Squarespace app. Clearly, this is a huge vulnerability in Squarespace since he had changed his password and I was still in on the app. I'll likely report this to them. This is where my revenge comes into play. I created a new email that was his address at protonmail.com, which I then used to sign up for a new Squarespace account with, invite myself a computer so I can access on desktop as well, and set his live site as password protected. He sees this and is repeatedly emailing and texting me saying he can pay me $250, but $750 now with the late fees is just insane and way too much. Now apparently he can pay me on Monday, which I've heard plenty of already. This pissed me off even more, so I stated I would continue adding late fees until he pays up, and that his site would continue to be mine. Now his site is indeed live again, but every page autoplays shorty SoundCloud rappers, and all the links he had me place now takes the user to Cool Math Games. Cool Math Games! I don't mind that website. I consider it a prawn hub, but perhaps that's a bit much. That's a bit too much. I've never done this to other clients, but this dude is a 43-year-old piece of garbage. I should also state that I pride myself in my work and generally run on a very professional level. However, I won't accept no payment and being dicked around for weeks. Hey guys, sorry I posted a couple of updates, but it looks like not everyone is seeing them in the comments, so here we go. Update 1. He decided that he once again only wanted to pay me $400 max. So here's our 2 most recent texts as of yesterday. We need to agree on middle ground here. I'll do $400 total, But that's insane considering my guy, if he did not go MIA, does it for 50 to 75. Monday 250, and when I get my checks, I'll do 150 out of that. Before anything else, I need you to understand that what other people charge is 100% not my problem. I personally know devs that charge $5 per hour and others that charge $1,000 per hour. People charge what they charge based on their work. You should also realize that you're saying the guy that charges you a lower rate went MIA. That being said, I also want to say I'm wildly disappointed in the behavior you've chosen to exhibit. I would never dare question someone's hourly rate unless they provide completely second-rate work that was completely unusable. In fact, I had to fix your previous developer's second-rate work. I also would never dare tell anyone tomorrow and next Monday, I swear, over and over again, nor would I then decide to question pricing about almost 3 weeks later. I'm 22 and seem to understand these basic principles of respect better than you do. That's completely shameful, particularly for someone who is supposed to be a respected businessman. Even considering all this and all of the frustration you put me through, I'd be willing to compromise at $500 due to the late fees that I clearly stated you would need to pay. I did my best to be reasonable, since truthfully I did not want to go to court. I have plenty of headaches with other facets of my life already, so I'd rather not. I figured $500 would be enough to call it a day. Currently, as it stands with late fees and the original price, he's looking at $800 flat. I sent that message yesterday at 8:26 p.m. He has still yet to reply, so I reached out to a lawyer I know through a group of car guys I used to rent with. He said I should send a letter of demand payment by certified mail, signed by the lawyer's name, with a request of proof of receipt. I think that's what it's called. I can't remember exactly what he called it. When I sent the letter, I'm also supposed to email him, explain the current situation, in which he could be serving jail or prison time with fines. Again, I can't remember the exact numbers, but if the late fees get to a certain point, he could be looking at 2 years in prison and a fairly hefty fine to the state, with a felony charge for theft of services on his record. Update 2. Woke up this morning to a $100 Vino payment and a message stating, sorry, didn't see your message until today. Was in upstate New York all weekend. Can get you $250 more when my checks come in this week. My reply, thanks for the heads up. Expect to be served with a letter of demand payment tomorrow and a fun time in court for theft of services if you don't pay me in full by Friday. Again, thanks for the support and criticism. We'll update on Friday. We got another update. Oh my god, there's so many updates. Sorry guys, I ended up having an emergency with my daughter over the weekend and missed the promised update. So far, he's still only paid me $100. He has $800 due tomorrow, with the understanding that he's due to pay me the remaining balance. Otherwise, he'll be facing theft of services charges. He's confirmed he received the demand of payment letter, and I have a lawyer on retainer that is ready to pull the trigger on him tomorrow if I'm not paid by 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Update number 4. I've been dicked around some more after deciding to be somewhat merciful. Here's what has ensued today after he informed me he would be paying the remaining balance today. I'm at bank now with my advisor. I'll let you know as soon as I'm back. I'm sorting out a bunch of short. I got home late and went to bed. I have a busy day today too. And I have strep throat still, etc. I said I'd pay more, just be patient. I'm also dealing with a court case and multiple serious issues. Alright, here's the deal. I understand going through things and facing problems, everyone does. My daughter was in the ER twice last week, and I've had plenty of issues since and before then. You've had an entire month to pay me, And quite frankly, I'm sick of waiting and having to chase you down for this. I expect to be paid in full by 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you choose not to do so, I'll be contacting my lawyer and I'll be suing you for theft of services. This can include jail or potential prison time with added fees. I'm also considering civil court in order to recover losses for all the time I've had to spend chasing down payment. I've been very merciful up to this point, but this is too far. Here's his reply about half an hour later. This guy is something else. Dude, seriously? I'm with my lawyer sorting out something important. Do not threaten me again. I have not stolen anything. Frankly, I advertised a flat rate payment of $50 for the job. Read it. It's on Upwork. In black and white. It should have taken no more than 2 hours max, and I never agreed to $100 per hour or 7 hours work. That's BS. I have paid you twice what I agreed to on Upwork and was prepared to pay you more out of the goodness of my heart, but that'll have to be next week. I'm sorry, but anything I pay you now is a favor, not owed. Please stop harassing me. Update number 5 was going all the way. Oh. Sorry guys, forgot to update before. I'm surprised how many people are still wanting updates. Here's my reply to his most recent message. Well, client's name. I have a family to feed and a business to run, so this is pretty high priority for me. You haven't stated any problem with paying $640 until recently. You in fact told me you'd pay me that the day after we finalize the project. I don't want to hear another word unless you're telling me you're sending me money right now. His reply. I told you I'd pay you $400, which is way more than I should be as a compromise. Next week I'll make another payment. I cannot this week now. This was as of about a week or two ago. Still haven't heard a word from him since then, with no such promised payment of $400. I've been speaking to a local lawyer and we're getting a battle plan ready. Update number 6. Hey everyone, so sorry for the silence on updates. Unfortunately, this is being put on the back burner for now. I'm currently going through a divorce, so I'm trying to focus on that and keeping my mental health in check. Hope you all have been well, and I'll keep posting updates as much as I can. Cheers. Update number 7. Met with a divorce lawyer today, being told that my case for custody is really solid since I work from home. Hoping this will go really quick so I can move on from my life and eventually come back with some good news on this case as well. Thanks again for all the support, guys. Okay, that took a sudden left turn into his romance life. Not what I expected. Okay, let's just back away from the drama of this guy. I'm not saying he's looking for drama. It's just drama seems to follow him. Whew. Let's move on to the next one. Excuse me, Satan. I think you're in my seat. I'm going to start the story off by saying that this is absolutely not one of my most shining moral moments, and I'm well aware I was a straight up asshole for what I did. My only real defense is that I was in a super bad place mentally and needed a mountain's worth of therapy. If you're curious about the circumstances around her, check my profile. Beach was evil in human form. Now on with the revenge. I was a really weird kid growing up. Really weird. It was mostly because I was being abused at home and forcibly isolated. My social skills were so undeveloped that I had difficulty reading human faces, aside from my grandmother, grandfather, and father. Being the weird kid meant I was a juicy target for bullies. It never stopped, but there was one bully that I hated more than any of the others. We'll call her Holly. This girl never passed up an opportunity to make my life hell, and since she lived across the street from me, there was nowhere I could avoid her. Holly treated me like garbage. There are a few examples. She put dog crab. I'm gonna use crab for that word. Dog crab in a mailbox on a regular basis. She let my dog out of my yard, and I was never able to get her back. She would also sit on her porch with her friends and roast the hell out of me to entertain them if I so much as put a toe outside my front door. I would love it if someone says that and then they just put a toe outside the door, like a fake toe, and just watch what happens. It went on for years. I hated her with the fiery passion of 1,000 suns. But while my grandmother was still alive, there was nothing I could do about Holly. If I did anything to her or fought back in any way, my grandmother would punish me, and I was more afraid of her than I was of Holly for a very good reason. So I made a plan. I suffered through all the abuse and promised myself that when I was older, I would make Holly pay for what she did to me. Thinking of what I was going to do to her when the time was right was sometimes the only thing that kept me going. Over time, Holly grew up, and eventually she left me alone and stopped being an asshole. Unfortunately for her, by then it was too late. I didn't give a shit about her new moral epiphany. I had been nursing my grudge for 2 decades, and it was time for a reckoning. I was going to destroy that beach. When my grandmother finally died, it was go time. I had 20 years, and I had 20 years to plan. I wasn't idle because while I waited, I'd made it my mission in life to learn as much about Holly as possible. And to do it, I became friends with a few people on the periphery, I cannot say that word, of her social circle. Eventually, I knew more about her and her life than her own mother did. The first step I took in my plan was getting her fired from her job. It took longer than I would have liked, but eventually I managed it. Holly worked at a doctor's office, and I knew that the doctor she worked for was super Christian. Very straight edge, upstanding type of guy. He also had a huge influence on the local community. I decided to become a patient at his office, scheduling my visits to be on the days Holly was off work. After a couple of visits, I just happened to notice Holly in the staff photo on the waiting room wall. I made a show of looking surprised and then concerned. I got to the exam room and the doctor came in shortly after. The expression on my face got his attention and he asked me what was wrong. I told him that even though I didn't want to, as a Christian, I couldn't keep my knowledge a secret and still sleep at night because I just couldn't let him endanger his soul and reputation by doing nothing. I had his full attention, and I asked him, as one fellow Christian to another, not to tell anyone where he got the information I was about to tell him. After he promised he would, I told him that I knew that Holly was using illegal drugs. He was absolutely floored, and at first, he didn't believe me. I told him that I understood his skepticism entirely, but it was easy enough to prove or disprove my information with a drug test. If I was wrong, he lost nothing. If I was right, he was saving himself from trouble down the road. He finally agreed to test her, and he tested everyone else too, so it didn't look like Holly was the only target. See, I wasn't actually lying. Holly smoked a short load of weed, and I knew that because it was my dad she used to get it from. And I knew that because it was my dad she used to get it from. He had been her weed dude since she was like 15. Her test came back positive for marijuana, and much to my surprise, Xanax. Wait, what's Xanax? Whoopsie! Ooh, yikes. The doctor fired Holly on the spot when the results of the urinalysis came back, and then he called me to thank me for telling him what was going on. And before he hung up, he told me that I truly walked with the Lord. You'll never know how hard I've had to fight not to laugh at the depths of his wrongness. I thought I was going to pop a blood vessel. Phase 1 complete. I know what you're thinking. It's just a job, and it's not like she can't go get another one, right? And losing a job isn't the end of the world. You'd be wrong. Remember how I said that her boss had a very high reputation in that area? That man called every single hospital and doctor's office in the state personally to make sure that none of them would hire Holly and risk liability and loss of community trust for associating with her. Holly's field of study was all pertaining to the medical profession, so her education was rendered worthless because nobody would hire her. I wasn't done yet. Nope. Not even close. She lost her job, and because she had no income, her car got repossessed. She still had her family though, 2 kids and a fiance. Who needs families, am I right? With the help of a good friend of mine, we catfished the fork out of her fiance. My friend is hot AF, and she let me use pictures of her to prove that she was really real. She even got on Skype with him once. Damn. When he finally made the agreements for a face-to-face encounter and booked a hotel room, I texted the screenshots of everything to Holly from a burner number. To say the excrement impacted the oscillating unit would be a vast understatement. I've never heard short-haired the fan said that way, but nice. They broke up. The whole thing was an ordeal, and Holly was devastated. She had 2 kids, no job, and now no fiance who could help her keep the family afloat. A normal person would have stopped then. Unfortunately, I am not normal, and I was going full scorched earth, full hellscape. I sieved for 20 years. Nowhere in hell I was going easy on her. Phase number 3. This is a ridiculous episode so far. With her fiance gone and no job, Holly was struggling badly. She needed money, and she needed it quickly before she and the kids got evicted. Meth is a giant role in my area. It's high risk, but it's also fast money, and so I started subtly mentioning Holly's situation among my more legally questionable family. Eventually, one of my family friends, who happened to be a meth cook, got in contact with Holly and offered her a short load of cash to let him cook dope at her house. It was supposed to be a one-time thing. 2 days and then done forever. Holly was desperate, so she said yes. Everything went smoothly at first, but dead in the middle of the cook, someone called an anonymous tip about an active cook in process to the local narcotics unit. They rolled up on Holly's house at about 3 a.m. and caught everybody inside, including Holly red-handed making meth. Watching her cry when they handcuffed her and put her in that police cruiser was one of the most gloriously satisfying moments of my life. She was in deep legal doo-doo. And to make a bad situation even worse, most houses where labs are discovered aren't deemed habitable afterwards because the toxic fumes from the chemicals used to make the drug get everywhere, and it's super hard and time consuming to clean. It's up to the property owner to either hire a hazmat team to clean it or condemn it and tear it down. A lab cleanup costs thousands of dollars. It would have cost more money to clean it than the entire property was worth. So it got torn down with everything Holly owned still inside. Damn. See, you can't take things out of a meth lab because they're going to be covered in toxic residue. It can make you very sick, especially young children. Everything in the residence is usually counted as a loss. Now, some people sneak in and grab stuff anyway, but whatever, it's their funeral. But since Holly was still sitting in jail, there was no way for her to get anything, and none of her close family were interested in risking getting caught sneaking into the house and being accused of stealing or tampering with a crime scene. Holly ended up in jail for a while, and while she was gone, the court gave their father, ex-fiance, sole custody of their children, and Holly was only given supervised visitation. 2 hours every Saturday, if I recall correctly. Revenge is a dish best served cold, and mine was freezing. And yet somehow it's still frozen down in hell. I was behind every single bad thing that happened in Holly's life, in one way or another, for an entire 5-year period. She decided she liked bullying me and making my life hell, and she figures there'll never be any consequences. Instead, I took her reputation, her job, her fiance, got her arrested and convicted of a felony, and her children taken from her, and the best part is that she has no clue I did this to this very day. She'd forgotten about me, what she did to me impacted my life forever, but to her, it wasn't even important enough to her to bother remembering. I was nothing to her, so she never connected me to her problems. Last I heard, she was in rehab for alcoholism and had her parental rights terminated permanently. After she lost her kids, she just sort of gave up and crawled into a bottle and never came out again. I was tempted to tell her, but I decided that the helplessness and confusion about why everything suddenly went to hell in a handbasket was the better plan, because that means that every now and then I could contact her and pretend to give a short about her troubles to get a fresh revenge boner about her newest tale of woe. She thinks I'm the nicest person she's ever met. Oh, wow. Oh, bit of an extra bit here. A lot of people are under the impression that the things Holly did to me were minor and didn't merit my reaction because the ones I spoke about were small. I guess I was trying to make myself a little less pathetic in front of people. She did way more to me than the specifics I mentioned. It's just embarrassing to admit to being weak enough that she could do it to me at all. She beat my ass more than a few times. Once she and her friends force-fed me short. Actual short. Okay, that's definitely warranting an extra doses of revenge. I don't know what kind. She shoved me down in the basement and I chipped my front tooth on a cinder block. Ow. The list goes on, and I don't really feel like going into it, but suffice to say, it wasn't just teasing. It doesn't make what I did much better, but I didn't do it over something minor. I am also female. Also, we lived in a trailer park, which is why they tore the house down rather than clean it. Her house wasn't worth more than $3,000 on its best day. Those are all the details I tend to add here, as any others would make things too specific. I feel like just the fact that this beach didn't remember you after bullying you for 2 decades. Like, wow. That is not a surprise. That your revenge didn't ring, like, you weren't suspected in the revenge on her. I'm gonna end this episode here. It's raining right now, so links will be in the description to my main channel and also the second channel, along with links to the playlist in the last episode. Go check them out. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when the next video comes out. A ding, ding. The Mad Scientist out.